the Caitlin Clark stimulus package, also known as the newly agreed upon CBA deal. Make no mistake about it, folks. Every time the owners came to the table and said, fine, we'll increase the salary cap to this, you can thank Caitlin Clark. Every time the owner said, fine, we'll pay for your housing again, you can thank Caitlin Clark. Every time the owner said, shoot, we really don't want to come up off this 15% number, but you know what? We'll move a little bit. You can thank CC22.
A'ja Wilson did not see this coming. Nobody who spent the last 2 years telling themselves that the Caitlin Clark conversation was overblown, that the hype was a media construction, that the ratings would eventually cool, that this league had real stars before Clark arrived and would carry on without all of this noise. None of them saw this coming. Because the WNBA just ratified the most significant collective bargaining agreement in the history of professional women's basketball.
A'ja Wilson and all her Glazers could give a big thank you to Caitlin Clark for her getting paid. Ever since the league came to an agreement, all we've been hearing about is how A'ja Wilson is about to sign this historic Supermax deal like she just did it all on her own. No, you could thank Caitlin Clark for revolutionizing the game so you could get paid. We don't care how many MVPs and championships A'ja won or how she was already known. It doesn't matter. She didn't change the dynamic of the league for the players to get paid like this.
The salary cap jumped from $1.5 million to $7 million. The average player's salary moved from around $120,000 to more than $600,000. The minimum salary crossed $300,000. Real money. Transformative money. The kind of numbers that veteran players in this league have been fighting for since before Caitlin Clark was in high school. And the first number they put on the board was Clark's. From $78,066 in 2025 to $530,000 in 2026. And now the building is on fire.
For example, 2024 Rookie of the Year Caitlin Clark, who made $78,066 in 2025, is poised to see her salary jump to $530,000 in 2026. So this year, she is about to jump to that salary, okay? Now, the other jump, the new provision would also be applicable to younger stars such as Aaliyah Boston, who is max eligible in 2026, and Paige Beckers, who is max eligible in 20.
And here's what actually happened. The WNBA and the Players Association spent 17 months locked in a negotiation that everyone in women's basketball knew was coming. The old CBA was a relic. It was a structure designed for a league that was grinding for relevance, not one that was breaking viewership records, selling out arenas and markets that had not filled seats in years, and generating broadcast rights packages that would have been laughed out of the room 5 years earlier. And at the center of all of that growth, every metric that mattered, every room where executives were suddenly paying attention, was one player.
The reason why they had the battery in the back that they had was because of Caitlin Clark's impact. All of the numbers and the metrics that the players could point to, do you see these ratings? Well, Caitlin Clark effect. Oh, do you see this attendance? Well, Caitlin Clark effect. Do you see the social media impressions? Well, Caitlin Clark effect. This is called the Caitlin Clark stimulus package, and it will go down as.
So when the new CBA landed in March 2026, it came with a mechanism nobody wanted to officially name after a single person. They called it the EPIC provision. Exceptional performance on initial contract, a fast-track salary structure designed for players who change the financial landscape of the league before their rookie deal expires. Caitlin Clark's name does not appear in the official text of that provision. It did not need to. Everyone in every boardroom in women's basketball knew exactly who they were building it around. The EPIC provision is the WNBA's way of saying, quietly, formally, in writing, that not all players are the same. Some players require different paperwork.
So this WNBA collective bargaining agreement will fast-track the ability for players on a rookie-scale contract to make maximum and supermax salaries, sources told ESPN. The new provision, called EPIC, Exceptional Performance on Initial Contract, allows players to renegotiate their 4-year salary and earn the standard max that that year if they were previously an all WNBA first team or second team, or the Supermax if they won in the...
Let's put the numbers on the table, because the numbers are the only thing that tells this story honestly and without softening the edges. In 2025, Caitlin Clark, the player who pushed the WNBA past 1 million viewers per game for the first time since 2008, the player who sold out opposing arenas in cities that had not filled seats in a decade, the player whose name is on a schedule moved broadcast ratings by a margin that every other player in the league combined could not approach, made $78,000. That is roughly what a mid-level paralegal earns. That is roughly what an entry-level A marketing coordinator makes sitting behind a desk in a city no one visits on vacation. It is not even close to the starting salary of a rookie entering the NBA, the NFL, or Major League Baseball. Meanwhile, Clark was setting assist records and selling jerseys and putting cameras on women's basketball that had not been there in a generation. She was doing things this league had genuinely never seen before. And the league was writing her a check that would not cover 2 months of rent on a decent apartment in Indianapolis. That is not a salary. That is a league hoping its most important asset would not do the math. She did the math. The entire sports world did the math. And the new CBA is the league's formal, public, long overdue acknowledgement that they had no choice left but to do it too.
So what has now happened is, because of the quote-unquote epic rule, I'm going to call it the Caitlin rule, because let's be real, she was the first person to have reached this. Whether it be it's Caitlin, Aaliyah, and Paige are all eligible. I'm just going to call it the Caitlin rule. Just like the old Rose rule in the NBA, we're going to call it the Caitlin rule. So, ironically, if Caitlin goes and wins MVP this year, she's actually eligible for the Supermax in 2020.
Now, in 2026, that changes. Clark's salary jumps to $530,000, a raise of more than 500%, more than 6 times what she was making last season. And before anyone starts applauding the league for finally getting it right, pause, because that $530,000 is still the greatest team sports discount in the modern era, and it is not particularly close. While the WNBA was paying her $78,000, Clark was pulling in $16.1 million in total earnings in 2025 alone. Salary, endorsements, appearances, speaking fees, commercial deals, the full empire. Nike, State Farm, Gatorade, Wilson, Hy-Vee. She is the 6th highest paid female athlete on the planet. In 2025, at full scale of her earnings power, the WNBA's payment to her accounted for less than half of 1% of her total income. The league was getting franchise-level services at a price that no business school professor can explain without looking physically uncomfortable. The jump to $530,000 is real. It is welcome. It is deserved 10 times over. And it still does not reflect what Clark is actually worth to every broadcast network, every sponsor, and every arena that sells out the moment her name appears on the away schedule. The raise is not justice. It is just the least of the league could do without embarrassing itself further.
The way the team is structured, in order for this team to remain intact, Sophie would have to be willing to take a league minimum kind of deal, which is around $300,000. And I don't see that happening. Okay, and I believe also people are going to be shocked how much money Lexi Hull is about to be offered, because I think she's going to get offered $600,000 to $700,000 by somebody, and that is going to greatly complicate things.
But here is where the story stops feeling like a celebration and starts feeling like a chess problem. Because when Clark's salary moves from $78,000 to $530,000, that money does not fall from the sky. It comes out of a salary cap. The WNBA's new salary cap sits at $7 million. Million. That is the entire payroll budget. The Indiana Fever have to build a competitive basketball team. Not just for Clark, for everyone. Every player from starter to the end of the bench to fit inside $7 million. Million. And Clark now consumes more than 7% of that cap on her current deal alone, before any extensions, before the max deals, before the off-season decisions that will define what kind of roster Indiana can realistically construct around her. There is a word for what happens, TOA salary cap, when your franchise player finally gets properly compensated and 3 other cornerstone players are all due extensions in the same window. That word is squeeze. And the Fever is about to feel every inch of it.
I wish they would have had Kelsey Mitchell on here. Because after last season, I mean, look, Kelsey finished what? 3rd or 4th in the MVP voting? This is her contract to make as much money as she possibly can, I believe, in this league. And come next year, because I don't think that the Fever are going to be able to keep her next season. And one could argue, depending on how much you covet depth on a team, like how deep do you want your team to be? I think one could argue against re-signing Kelsey Mitchell this year.
Let's talk about Kelsey Mitchell. Because Mitchell is the conversation the national media keeps undervaluing. She is one of the most dangerous scoring guards in this league. He is the 2nd best player on the Indiana Fever. League. And she is standing at a contract crossroads that the new CBA just made significantly more expensive to navigate. Mitchell was a free agent before the 2025 season, and Indiana used the court designationed expensive designation to bring her back on a 1-year deal. Enter the new CBA, if the Fever court Mitchell deal. Court Mitchell again in 2026, which remains their most logical short-term court Mitchell short-term move. Her salary rises to $1.40 million a move. Supermax contract, which is exactly right for $1 million. A player of her caliber. T is also 20% of Indiana's entire $7 million cap on one player, who is not Caitlin Clark. T the same time, Aaliyah Boston is max eligible this offseason. Off-season. ND Clark herself, through the EPIC provision, qualify off-season. Qualifies for a 3-year max deal worth $1.3 million in 2027, rising toward a $1.7 million Supermax Extensia Qualifies extension in 2028, Rextension 2028. On those numbers slowly. See 2028. Slowly. Lark at $1.3 million. Boston at max mix slowly. Max, and Hell at $1 max. And $1.4.4 million $1.4 million Supermax. Jmillion Supermax. UST those 3 players absorb more than half of Indiana's total cap. Supermax. Cap. More than half. Before they add a backup point guard, before they fill the forward rotation, before they build any of the depth that separates good teams from championship teams. That is the math the Fever's front office is staring at. That is what a historic pay raise looks like from the inside of a $7 million budget.
I want Kelsey Mitchell to take a 1-year deal instead of a multi-year deal due to this. Aaliyah Boston is eligible for the Supermax this year. The following year, Caitlin Clark is eligible for a Supermax, which could be worth $1.7 million, actually close to $2 million. So who are you going to invest in? Kelsey Mitchell or Caitlin Clark? And that's why I say, don't play this game, Fever. I'm talking to organizations. I'm talking to Amber Cox, Kelly Crosskoff, and definitely Stephanie White. Don't mess this up. Please, for the love of God, do not mess this up. I don't mind if Kelsey Mitchell comes back for 1 year, but 1 year only.
This is a classic small cap squeeze. And professional sports has told this story before. Many times, in many cities, across every major league that has ever had a franchise player worth more than the team's total payroll. You build something electric. You identify the core. The star earns the raise she deserves, raise that is fan-driven, revenue-driven, and justified by every number on every spreadsheet in the building. And then the arithmetic catches up with the dream. The supporting cast starts to resolve because the cap cannot hold everyone at market rate simultaneously. Role players get priced out. Depth evaporates. The team that was winning games with 10 quality contributors and a hungry bench, it starts to look thinner as each off-season passes and another contract decision forces another difficult goodbye. The Clark raise is deserved. The cap squeeze is coming. Those two things are not in conflict with each other. They are the same story told from two different angles.
We're tired of the mindset of just be grateful for what you have. No, we need to dive into it. We need to have better workplaces, practice facilities like this. And it's not just for the women of the league now. We're talking about the women coming up, the future.
Right,
we want them to have a safe space to where they can perform at a high level and get that revenue share and to live on a salary that is what they've earned.
That's livable.
That is
So
livable.
you don't have to go over to Europe, go to other places.
Absolutely.
And then there is A'ja Wilson. Because no serious conversation about money and the WNBA ever gets to skip past A'ja Wilson. She is a two-time MVP. Wilson. She is an Olympic gold medalist. MVP. She is a WNBA champion. Smedalist. Champion. He is one of the most decorated champion. Eco-rated. Player decorated. Players in the history of this league, and she has the trophy case to prove it. A player sit. ND. She has spent the last 2 years watching Clark arrive, flip the economics of women's basketball entirely upside down, and collect the kind of commercial deals, national visibility, and financial recognition that Wilson, despite every honor on her resume, has never come close to matching off the court. When Sportico published their year-end highest-paid athlete report in 2025, and Clark appeared at $16.1 million, while Wilson was not even listed. The frustration from Wilson's direction was impossible to miss. Cryptic social media posts with enough subtext to say everything without technically saying anything. Interview answers with just enough edge to make every journalist in the room understand exactly what was going on, said. Wilson spent months posting about delayed success and denied recognition, and everyone watching understood precisely who those posts were about. She has been one of the loudest advocates for pay equity in this league for years. And now the new CBA, the agreement she and every veteran fought hard to achieve, arrives. And its most prominent headline is a player with 2 years of professional experience becoming the highest paid player in league history. Paid, that is a genuinely complicated thing to process with grace.
A'ja Wilson clearly hates Caitlin Clark. I mean, clearly. What bothered her the most was the fact that she got this popularity, and she actually said it herself that she felt like history was being erased. Read the magazine, read the article. She really hates Caitlin Clark. On top of that, the writer, whoever wrote this, hates her too, because she said, yeah, Caitlin Clark brought this toxic fanship, brought the toxicity to the league. I'm like, whoa. That's nonsense. That's straight bullshit. This league always has toxicity. Y'all just being exposed, because there was plenty of players, including Sue Bird, that said there was racism in the league. Sue Bird said it. Okay?
But here is the reality that the old guard of this league is going to have to sit with. And this is the part nobody wants to say plainly because it sounds cold even when it is completely accurate. The new CBA does not distribute money based on longevity, on loyalty, or on how many MVP trophies sit in someone's living room. It distributes money based on market impact. The epic provision exists because certain players change what this league is worth to broadcasters, to sponsors, to casual fans who had never watched a WNBA game in their lives, and a standard rookie contract structure was never built to account for that kind of transformation. A'ja Wilson has been dominant in this league for years. She is legitimate. She is great. She is one of the best to ever play the game. But in her entire career, she has never triggered a media rights deal just by being confirmed on a roster. She has never pushed the WNBA past 1 million viewers on a Tuesday night that started as a mid-tier regular season matchup. She has never made an opposing team's arena sellout because she was scheduled to play there. Clark does all of those things. Routinely. That is not a conversation about who plays better basketball. That is a measurement of economic impact. And leagues that are growing as aggressively as the WNBA is growing right now pay for economic impact before they pay for almost anything else. The old guard built this league. Caitlin Clark is monetizing it. Both of those things are true, but only one of them is writing the new salary schedule.
Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark, speaking from experience, players like me are going to be the ones that I think feel it the most, and that's what I think we're all super proud of, because that's what we set out from the beginning, was making sure every player felt a change in the CBA, and that's exactly what has happened. New York Liberty forward Breanna Stewart, the deal is going to be transformational. It's going to build up and help create a system where everybody's getting exactly what they deserve, and more from on the court and the off court aspects. Just excited that we can tell our fans that we're going to be back.
Here is what the next 3 years actually look like. Clark earns $530,000 in 2026, still the most undervalued contract in professional women's sports, still a figure that would embarrass any league that truly claimed pay its players what they are worth, but real and official inside. She qualifies for a max deal worth $1.3 million in 2027. And if everything continues the way it has continued since the night of the 2024 WNBA draft, when 2.4 million people tuned in just to watch her get selected and effectively announced to the entire sports world that women's basketball was now a serious television event, she signs a $1.7 million supermax in 2028 that will dominate every headline the league generates that summer. Each step up that salary ladder will come with a fresh wave of noise from every corner of the league. Veterans who spent years in a system that underpaid them will watch a player with 2 years of experience earn more on her WNBA contract than most of them ever saw. She earns some of those reactions will be gracious. Most of them will not. But all of them will be understandable. Because what Clark's raise really represents is not generosity from a league that finally grew a conscience. It is a formal acknowledgement, printed in a collective bargaining agreement, negotiated across 17 months, that one player's presence is worth more to this league's bottom line than most of the roster put together.
The Caitlin Clark Stimulus Package, also known as the newly agreed upon CBA deal. Make no mistake about it, folks. Every time the owners came to the table and said, fine, we'll increase the salary cap to this, you can thank Caitlin Clark. Every time the owner said, fine, we'll pay for your housing again, you can thank Caitlin Clark. Every time the owner said, shoot, we really don't want to come up off this 15% number, but you know what? We'll move a little bit. You can thank CC22. And on the player side, the only reason why they
A'ja Wilson can be frustrated. Veterans can push back on what the distribution looks like. Fans can debate what deserved means in a sport still figuring out its own value. All of those conversations are fair, and all of them deserve to happen. But one thing is no longer up for debate. Caitlin Clark's value to this league is not anyone's opinion anymore. It is a line item. It is $530,000 rising toward $1.7 million in a league whose entire salary cap was $1.5 million just 12 months ago. The WNBA that used to pay its most important player the salary of a paralegal has officially been replaced by one that is formally admitting what it has, and what it has just got a lot more expensive. Everyone else is going to have to learn to live inside that number or keep watching it climb without them.